Nakayama. Mr. Nakayama, thank you very much for speaking to Republic TV. Let me straight away begin by asking you, this is a massive escalation from the Chinese side. How exactly would Japan react at this stage? We'll try and reconnect with the former Vice Minister for Foreign Affairs in a short while from now. What you're seeing right now on your screens, these are the latest images now coming in of that military drill that has been carried out by China. Once again, Mr. Nakayama is joining us on the phone line right now. Mr. Nakayama, I want your first thoughts on this escalation which we are seeing from the Chinese side. How is Japan essentially reacting?
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me on this program. As you mentioned that the Chinese PLA activity is escalating around Taiwan. And even our Japanese soil is invaded. So we, the Japanese government, actually directly contact with the Chinese side to stop those kind of exercising of the military activities around Taiwan. Because think about the South China Sea and also the East China Sea. Taiwan is surrounded by Chinese, those kind of like naval activities since 2010. They really made artificial islands around the South China Sea. And Xi Jinping said he will not be used for military as a facility. But in fact, since 2010, we look at from the satellites that their artificial island is also using for military activities. And also maybe India also confirmed that situation. So what we should do towards Chinese PLA activity and also the Chinese Communist government is what we have to do is we have to protect free, open Indo-Pacific. And also we should protect our allies, our democratic nations friends. So this time the Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, but we should more unite towards this Chinese dangerous activity around Taiwan. And also, we, the Japan, is a country who imports oil and natural resources from Middle East. And those resources are passing through the Bassi Strait. And the Bassi Strait, 90% of Japanese oil which imported through Taiwan, nearby Taiwan, and also 60% of the natural resource, the gas, is also from around Taiwan, from the Middle East. So we really have to be careful, not just a militaristic issue, but on the other hand, the economical point of view. Thank you.
So, Mr. Nakayama, if you are able to hear us.
Yes.
If you are able to hear us.
I can hear you clearly.
Economic explanation cannot be the basis of the actions of the Chinese. They are clearly bullying Taiwan, they are bullying Japan, and they are really taking the world for granted. Something needs to be done. Some red lines need to be drawn for the red regime.
Yes, I really guess so. The responsible is the United States of America. I think the superpower is the only one power exists is United States of America. So how the United States of America, President Joe Biden, is going to handle and tackling these difficulties. And especially 50 years ago, the Henry Kissinger made a decision for one China policy. Everybody said, every thinker or think tank or people from the United States government officials, they say, we have to change the ambiguous strategy toward the Chinese issue. But in fact, one China policy is what we have to rethink again. So how do you make an answer for the one China policy? This is I think that we need to discuss.
That's something, I think that's something, sir, the United States has to, find a solution to, because they put themselves in a catch-22 situation with that one China policy. They talk about the strategic ambiguity, but at the end of it, it plays into the hands of the Chinese. The Chinese every time read that document to them saying that you agreed to one China policy, you can't now support Taiwan or those forces in Taiwan that want independence, that want to secede.
Yes. So yes, and also look at the situation right now in Europe. Russian invasion on Ukraine. So maybe that tomorrow China is going to invade to Taiwan. How world is going to react if we pass this through? Taiwan will be the next day will be a Hong Kong. So if the United States have a superpower, when they use this superpower, and how do you make an answer for the one China policy? You know, when we discussed when the one China policy made the decision 50 years ago, the situation was Cold War era. But now, is this Cold War again in the 21st century? Or we have to solve this issue? I mean, Russia and China, those autocratic countries, is really doing the strong using superpower from their point of view. So how the Western side is going to react, I mean the democratic side, how the superpower is thinking right now. I think the U.S., the White House, has to make a strong leadership towards the democratic friends and the nations to let the people from the democratic society have to solve this issue. If we want to become a peace, we have to stop the Chinese bad activity.
Oh, did you use the word Dadagiri, sir? Did you use the word Dadagiri, sir?
Sorry? Can you hear me?
Oh, I mean, you see, you have nailed it on the head by saying that it's the United States that has to take the initiative, sir. But you think that Biden administration is strong enough, the Biden White House is strong enough to do that? Because you see, Quad can't do it. Quad is not a military alliance. AUKUS is not broad-based and it's not very representative. Who can do it but United States? You are right. But is the present administration strong enough to take that action? Remember, there are 4 aircraft carriers of the US Navy that are patrolling those waters, and yet nothing is happening. The Chinese are not scared of them.
Yeah, exactly. You are right. So yeah, I think you should talk with the Joe Biden president, because you know, even the Nancy Pelosi visit to Taiwan, that is a good. That shows a strong strengthening between the democratic countries and the nation. That was good. But the problem and the tackling issue and new agenda is what's from the next. So we need the United States to lead us, the democratic nations, as our friend nations. And how U.S. going to manage this situation is, I think, the United States president has to talk and negotiate strongly towards Xi Jinping directly, and let rethink about one China policy. We have to protect Taiwan without dialogue between Xi Jinping and Joe Biden. And we have to bring, and we have to make if you want to protect Taiwan, you have to divide into China. No more one China policy. This is not acceptable for the future.
No, Mr. Nakayama.
US, yeah, please.
Mr. Nakayama, do you see the timing of this? Because if they violated the waters and fired into the Japanese exclusive economic zone, do you see this as posturing ahead of Nancy Pelosi, the U.S. Speaker's visit to Tokyo on Friday? That's tomorrow. Yes. Do you see this as a deliberate provocation?
I don't think so this time. But when Nancy Pelosi going back to Washington, D.C., I hope that Nancy Pelosi bring our feelings to the United States of America, the White House. And I hope that the Joe Biden, President of the United States, will make a new strategy regarding the FOIP, reopening the Pacific, and also We need a boot on the ground to protect the Taiwan. No more Hong Kong again. This is what we need. We have to protect our friends, Taiwan. And even that India has a few conflicts between Chinese Communist Party around your borders. I love India, rich democratic country and nation. So I hope the Indian people also support to protect Taiwan, and also please offer the United States to more strong superpower have to lead the freedom nation to protect it. Can you hear me?
Mr. Nakayama, keeping in mind what we are really witnessing in the other parts, you made a mention of what's really happening in Europe. This entire warmongering that we are at least witnessing at this stage with China making those kind of threats, is the world really ready, or you really think that someone needs to take a step back, because perhaps the world is still not ready, or it's at this stage perhaps a war is only not going to affect just Taiwan and China. Perhaps there are repercussions that many countries will have to face. We are already seeing that as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned.
Yeah, exactly. We don't fight against each other. We never accept a new war in Asia. But in fact, the Chinese PLA activities are escalating. How to de-escalate this situation? If we have to talk with U.S. superpower is needed. So I hope not just a phone call between the U.S. and China, but I hope that Joe Biden have to see each other with Xi Jinping and talk about how de-escalate this situation in Asia. No more Ukraine situation in this area. And also, we have to show the deterrence. If someone think, or some countries think, we are strong than the others, they will start fighting. They will start war. So we have to be ready for anything not happening in the future. That means we have to show the deterrence. That's why the Japanese government is also double up the defense budget for next 5 years. So we would like to show the deterrence with friendship countries and the allies of the nation.
Sir, these zones where these military drills are being carried out in the high seas are also very important sea lanes through which almost 1/3 of global trade passes on a daily and monthly basis. You think that a beginning could be made by all nations in the region, including the grouping ASEAN, coming out with a statement condemning the Chinese actions?
Yes, I hope the ASEAN 10 countries also please unite and condemn to what is China is doing right now. I think each country has each situation and concern, and also the issue and agenda regarding between China diplomatic relations. But on the other hand, this kind of using brutalism or using a powerful, the capability of the militaristic event, that is not for good for the future of ASEAN 10 countries. So we have to unite and against and condemn this situation towards Taiwan. This is a very important issue that we have to show the deterrence, even together with ASEAN countries. Why the former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe presents the idea about free open Indo-Pacific means Pacific Ocean and Indian Ocean. All the countries who include this area and the region is a friend. What is a friend? We have to unite, and against the communist country or autocrat countries is going to expanding all the militaristic, expansionism. We against expansionism of the Communist Party, especially China and Russia.
Mr. Nakayama, thank you for speaking to Republic TV. That's Yasuhide Nakayama, the former minister in Japan, speaking to Republic TV. And this